have you give a warm welcome to Chief Evangelist for Toggle, Randy Weir.
So I'd like you to imagine for a moment that you're going to go for a night out to your favorite steak restaurant with your significant other. And you've had a long day, you're pretty hungry, so you go out, you walk in the door, you feel like you're home. It's warm, it's comfortable, you love the atmosphere. You order steak Diane because you wanted something just a little special, and it's kind of fun to have that all made tableside, right? So they bring out the ingredients, you've got some wine there, you're starting to get into the whole experience. You're relaxing, you're having this wonderful conversation with your loved one. You see them start mixing the ingredients, you hear the sizzle of the steak, you smell the spices, you see the flaming that goes on with steak Diane. They mix up the bowl of Caesar salad for you. And finally, it's ready because you've been waiting with anticipation. You can almost imagine you're starting to salivate a little bit, waiting for this to happen. So the waiter takes the step forward and all of a sudden trips. And in slow motion, it seems, because that's how these things go, you see the potato flying off the plate. You see the salad sliding. And the steak in slow motion smacks you in the face. And you've got the juices just running down the face, on your clothes. And you realize, this is a hell of an experience. So freeze that frame for a moment. The phrase that pays here, guys, is a steak in the face is not the same thing as a steak on the plate. I learned this 30 years ago, and I always remember, and the reason that I bring this up is because perception of value is in the eyes of your buyer. Just like your experience at that restaurant. It's the same content, it's the same ambience, it's the same steak and everything else, but it's nowhere near as the meal and the experience that you were looking for, right?
Right.
And when you go in and you talk with your prospects, the issue is what are they going to perceive in their mind as the value of the experience that you're bringing to them. And that makes the huge difference in their willingness to engage with you, how fast they buy from you, how much they pay for it, and if they buy from you at all. It's all about their perception of value. And we're going to talk significantly about that today. So actually, that slide is kind of hard to remember to do the slides at the same time. So, steak on the face is not the same thing. It is the buyer's personal perception. It does not matter what you think. In the restaurant, all of the other diners still had the same experience that they were having otherwise. It was a momentary interruption. It did not affect them. When you meet with your buyers, you're prejudging what you think matters does not matter necessarily to your buyer at all, any more than it matters to the rest of the diners necessarily what happened to you when you got that steak to the face. So let's talk about cloud. You know, the elephant in the room is that many of us think that cloud is more expensive. Would you agree? Everybody think that?
Yep.
Now the interesting question is that the key issue for your prospects? The answer, of course, is sometimes yes, sometimes no. But we're going to talk to you how that can be considerably less of an issue and how, in fact, we believe there's a myth that relates to TCO and ROI. So I just wanted to point out a couple things that may be a little startling for you. We've seen deals done with cloud packages for as much as $492 a month per seat. We routinely see deals that are done and signed in the mid-300s. So you might ask, how do people do that? How do they sell at markups which can be 400% or more? And we see that some VARs are struggling to sell cloud packages for $100 a seat. So I'm just going to suggest to you that there is a difference. That some VARs, because I should call technology solution providers VARs because it's better than alphabet soup. So what do they know and what do they do that other people don't do? And we're going to talk to you about that. So I have the great privilege of working with a number of tremendous people as part of my organization. And we'll get into some of that detail, but I wanted just to give you a little bit of some rules and then some background. So we have a pretty limited period of time, so I'm going to speak fast. So while Jonathan is going to join us, we're then going to have some panelists, where a couple of affiliates are going to come up, and we're going to have some fun and entertain a bunch of questions. We'll be available throughout the entire thing to Saturday, so if you want to engage with us, talk to us while we're here or afterwards, that's just wonderful. I will ask you to sort of check your skepticism, because many of us do have this preconception about price being an issue and how much people will pay, and we're going to give you a different perspective. And I will also then prove to you how and why that actually works. Some background of mine. I founded and ran a converged VAR. I've been in the technology business now for about 35 years. My last MSP was 26 years. I designed that organization to build it and then sell it. We built it to about $4 million a year. We did then go ahead and sell it to another MSP. I came on full time with Toggle about 2 years ago. We did both voice and data business, but pretty much 50-50. And our customers were all over the world, but it was all in the small to medium-sized business marketplace, largely. So I was a member of the Genius League. You guys know what that's all about. And I was with a wonderful group of people and we worked together for years. And what we did is we constantly were sharing best practices and procedures and policies and ideas and talking about vendors and how to keep up with the changes in technology. Some of us, like my own organizations and Jonathan's, have been dealing with the cloud for close to, well, then it was 8 years. And we wanted to take this set of best practices and procedures and our experience in clients and put that together for our group. But we wanted to take it to the next level. So we looked at what was available out there in the world because we really didn't want to create our own. The problem is we didn't find a firm that did it. We didn't find a firm that offered a world-class platform for a fully hosted cloud solution that allows us to take desktops and servers and the server functions and have a business potentially run 100% in the cloud, as my clients have been doing for 8 years. One that had the best-of-breed tool set to allow us to be able to scale that and manage it. We wanted something that was based upon performance, reliability, security, intense redundancy. There's no sense in doing something, guys, if you don't do it really well. We knew what that investment was like because we'd been that route. The problem is we couldn't find any firm that did that. We wanted a company that was channel only, because who wants to compete with their vendor, right? We wanted to be able to sell cloud to seats as small as one, clients with just one seat. And we wanted to sell to clients who might have hundreds or thousands of seats. We couldn't find a company out there to do that. So we built one, and that became Toggle. So we're channel only, and that's how that all went ahead and transpired. I'd like to introduce you to some wonderful team members that I have. I mentioned I'm privileged. The people in the red shirts back there are all part of our team. There's 17 of us who together make up Toggle, and we lend our experience and our give back to the community to help you be successful. One of the privileged members that I have is Jonathan Garber, a gentleman I call my friend, and we certainly mentor each other. And I wanted to give you a little bit of background about Jonathan before he comes up to join us. You may know him as the master of disaster. Quite the experienced professional in having fun and providing a great deal of education. He has been with Connections for Business, which is Florida's premier and oldest IT company, for 13 years. Connections has a lot of business awards. And Jonathan certainly got a lot of personal awards. He's even done 300 stand-up improvisations. So that's quite an accomplishment overall. Jonathan and his team have been some of the pioneers in cloud computing. Like ourselves, have actually been involved with cloud now for about 10 years. Jonathan is a sought-out national speaker in the areas of business continuity, internet safety for kids, green technology, and of course cloud. He authors the most substantial video blog in Southern Florida that talks about business leadership and some of the trends in technology. I'd like you all to get on your feet. Let's make a bunch of noise. Let's welcome Jonathan.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Greg. And you know why. I'm just going to turn on the timer here. There we go. Awesome. That is really hot. Are we okay with that? You do your thing. Okay. So this is really what I love most to do, and this is really what I cherish about the TMT program, is when I get to come together with you, my peers from around the country, sometimes around the world, and learn from you, and I get into these conversations outside of the big presentations, just in the breaks, and I find out all these wonderful things that you're doing that I can integrate into my business, and at the same time, I get very excited about being able to take something that we're doing that's really changing our business, share it with you, and see if it can really make a measurable difference in your business. So I'm totally passionate about cloud. If you didn't already know it, you'll certainly know it by the end of the presentation, that I am really passionate about cloud. I think about 90-some-odd% of all of our clients and connections are on our cloud platform. So we are dedicated to cloud, and it works. I was very pleased over the past year to put together a cloud sales training program for Toggle. It's called Cloud Conversations. It is a whole course on how to talk about and position cloud with your prospects and clients. It is available exclusively to Toggle affiliates. I don't know how many of you in the room are Toggle affiliates. Can I see a show of hands? How many people are with Toggle right now? Awesome. How many people are thinking about Toggle? That's also awesome. What else? In the dark? No, I'm good. Okay. So this is available through the My Toggle portal. You can take it as a course and run straight through it. And I'm very excited and proud of that. We've gotten great feedback on it. How did we get here? How did this start? Why did we create a workshop called The Myth of TCO and ROI, particularly when it comes to selling cloud? Well, last year at the boot camp right here, I was privileged again to stand up here with Randy and talk to you all about the cloud space, the cloud market, the landscape for MSPs like you, and the future of cloud. And the feedback was great. So for the rest of the boot camp conference, people would be coming up to me at the breaks and at the cocktail receptions and saying, oh, you know, I signed up already with another cloud vendor, whoever it is, it doesn't matter. And I said, that's great. I'm glad that you're interested in cloud, because that's the future. So I asked them, so how many cloud deals have you sold? What do you think I got as a response? You got it. 0. I thought that was weird. So I said, could you tell me maybe why? You've made a pretty substantial investment. Why haven't you sold any? And one after another, and I don't know if this applies to the people in this room, you guys are here spending Cloud Day with me, so you're forward thinking, and that's great. But one after another last year, they said, well, I can't make the ROI thing work. Or I can't make the TCO statement work. And I really scratched my head. I didn't understand this. Apparently there were some other cloud providers, whatever, they were giving them a spreadsheet to shove all of the speeds and feeds into, and if it didn't add up to something at the bottom, I don't know what, cloud would look more expensive than a premise solution. Well, no kidding. Duh. That was okay. But I scratched my head about this and I said, I've been selling cloud longer than they've had the term cloud computing. That's a fairly recent term. And I have never done a TCO or ROI statement. So I said, I got to go do something. I got to go build a workshop for the Toggle people on really deflating this myth that somehow you're selling cloud on TCO and ROI. Now, true confession, I told you, how many ROI statements have I done?
0.
0. And yet I carry well over $5 million in cloud contracts. What month is it now? We're in the beginning of April. I already have $460,000 in cloud contracts sold this year and about another $1 million in the pipeline. So I'm doing it, and it's no secret. If I had a secret, you're about to learn whatever it is. Is that fair enough? You guys with me on that? All right. So here's what's holding people back. Here's the problem. It's head trash. It was these guys themselves holding themselves back from selling cloud. And it was pretty shocking. And I told them, I said, look, if you want to sell something new, you have to let go of a lot of your old ideas. And even more important, if I'm going to ask the prospect to look at their vital business technology, this is everything, this is their data, and I want them to look at it differently, which is to give up being able to touch it and put it in a place that they've never seen. I want that trust. If I'm asking them to make that leap, don't you think I have to position the whole conversation differently? I have to ask them to look at it in a completely different way and really embrace new ideas. So I really started looking back, because again, I've worked in this business 13 years, been in technology almost 20. And I said, what is the sales model for the traditional break, fix, time and materials VAR? Right? You all remember that. Now remember, most sales consultants, marketing people will tell you, will the guy who's your salesperson, guy or gal who's your salesperson for break, fix, time, and materials, are they likely to be your successful managed service salesperson?
No.
Let me hear you.
No.
Right. Chances are they won't. They won't make that shift to managed services. But now I'm in managed services, and I want you to make a second shift. What's the second shift? The second shift is from good managed services on a customer-owned, premise-based hardware to cloud. That's a whole second shift, because I'm going to take away the tangible infrastructure from the client site. They can't see blinking lights. They can't put their feet up on it. They can't wrap their arms around it. They can't spill coffee on it. Employees can't steal. Oh, anyway, so I guess there were some good things about that. But do you see the two shifts? Do you see it? Break, fix to managed service to their no-premise infrastructure. So, what's holding these guys back again? Oh my dear. I went back to that sales model and said, you know what guys? Let's bring it back to Sales 101. So, what's the first rule of sales? Y'all remember Sales 101? First rule of sales is, before you leave, don't forget to ask for what?
The sale.
The sale. You remember what the second rule is? Once you've made the sale, Alex, once you've made the sale, what do? You get the money. Money is good.
Referral.
He said it. Shut up. It's a nice thing. You're much more polite than. Yeah. So, once you make the sale,
Stop selling.
Cerra la boca. No more. So what was happening with these guys that I talked to last year, I really spent time thinking about this on a mountain in Tibet, is these guys, not really Alex, I think that. So what happened is I started thinking about what these guys were doing. Because they hadn't sold cloud, and a guy told them this is how you sell cloud. And what they did is they started looking at these TCO and ROI worksheets, and they kept looking at it. And they struggled with it, and it didn't add up. Somehow 2 columns didn't balance. Somehow it would look more expensive than buying a $1,500 server and sticking it in the corner again. No kidding. And you know what they did? They kept talking, and they did what? What did they do? They forgot to what?
They asked for the sale.
Not one of these guys said that the prospect said no. Not one of them said that they were rejected for something else. Do you know what it turned out? They kept this conversation going about ROI and TCO, and guess what? They never offered cloud. They talked themselves out of the sale. First two rules of sales 101, they forgot. I'm telling you that we've got to look at other things. We've got to get with leadership. We got to get with big thinking. We got to get away from client-directed IT to big thinking and strategic planning. Are y'all with me on that? Now, in a few moments, I'm going to share with you a completely different way to think about it and position cloud sales. It's a completely different way that takes ROI and TCO. What do you think I do with it? Throw the head trash out and look at it totally differently. If you're ready to take that journey with me, is that okay? Can we go there? So if you're talking with a prospect, what do you want to talk about? Right? TCO and ROI are money conversations. Huh? What's the fun about that? You all have fun talking about money? You think your client has fun talking about it? What do I mean by fun? How many people here think sales is fun? I do. Honestly, you find that hard to believe, but I do. Because I love educating people, and I love looking and saying, oh my gosh, I'm the only guy in the room talking about something new. And I can help this company. I can help somebody really measurably in big dramatic ways. And I get very excited about that. But the truism is, when we talk about money conversations, customers buy on what? Let me hear you. Come on, customers buy on what? You got it. Is money emotional or intellectual? Spoiler alert, it's on the board. Money is an intellectual conversation. I have it, I don't have it, I have a little bit of it, I never have enough for you, I got it for something else. It's not emotional. It's intellectual. I don't want to have that conversation. Who asked for the TCO ROI? The guys I spoke to last year, their cloud provider said you had to do it. None of them actually told me that a buyer asked for it. Now, don't get me wrong. I love talking to the financial decision makers in a company. CFO, controller, comptroller. I have no idea what the difference between a controller and comptroller. The account, whatever you want to call them. SMB space, that's usually a collapsed C-level structure. It's like the owner's the CFO, CEO, and a couple different hats. You see that, right? That's pretty common. So I love talking to these people because they really, really dig my conversation. Because my conversation is about things that they have to measure. Employee productivity. Man, the CFO of a well-run company, he's in touch or she's in touch with employee productivity. Budget predictability. If you want to have a big thinking, strategic leadership conversation, start talking about budget predictability. Downtime and the cost of downtime or continuity interruptions. Don't ask me what the cost of your downtime is. I'll help you figure it out, but who's got the numbers for the company?
Right.
They do. So why are they asking for it? If somebody were to ask you for an ROI, if you presented a proposal and they called you a little bit later and said, Lauren, you know, it was neat, but can you just work up an ROI or TCO thing and send it to me? Guys, that's a prelude to three things, one of three things that can happen. Tire kicking, a straight up blow off, or the much dreaded, okay, I'll
think about it.
Think it over. What do we say when we hear, I'll think it over?
What do you have to think about?
I'm sorry, you think it's over? Right? Because there's no difference. Is there? Is that prospect going anywhere? Oh, heck no. No. If you were really in a numbers conversation with a CFO who's got an accounting degree, can you win? Can you win a if I go, Lauren's the CFO, Lauren, well, you see, if this column adds up to that column, then your return on the cloud, it makes perfect sense if you gave me $10,000 a month, and you see, that's how it pays for itself. Am I going to win that?
No.
Anybody who tells you anything, you want to buy a car, Alex, you want to buy a car, Jim, saves on gas, practically pays for itself. I sold Jim a car. It paid for itself. Schmuck, you still have to write the check every month, right? Car didn't write the check. Come on. You can't win in a numbers conversation. Who's ever seen this last sentence? Can you do something about this number? So here's your problem. Everybody, come on. Nobody? Well, some guys do. Drink more coffee, guys. I do. What do I mean by that? Let's take a server. Help me out with a mythical server. We're an HP shop, okay? So I'm just going to use who here knows HP? All right? Nobody? IBM, something, nice. All right. I want to build a great server because I visited the client, 7-year-old equipment. We want scalability, the app road, right? So for us, a great premise server would be like a DL380. That's what I call a pizza box. One of those 1U things. 2U. Not technical, so I call it. A DL380. And so I'm going to put like dual quad cores or quad dual cores, like 16 gig of RAM. And I'll put dual power supplies, dual NICs, and dual fans. Right? I got the operating system and the log files on a RAID 1 mirror over here. And I got the SQL database and the Exchange, everything running on a 5-drive RAID 5 over here, but I only use 3, so that's 2 hot spares. You with me? Is that a cool server? Right? That's no OS or labor. That's about 10 grand. Right? About 10 grand, Dave?
Yeah, 8 or 10.
More or less, 8, 10 grand. So let's call it 10 grand for conversation, right? So I go in, because I'm a thought leader, and I said, I got something different for you, Ron. Look at this. This is a high availability. It was really a fault-tolerant server. And half of the whole thing could die. Half the drives, half the power supplies. I was going to mesh 2 switches into the NICs. So if a switch went down, you kept going. I was going to put VMware on it. We were going to put all these little VDKs on it. So, bam. It's pretty cool, right? Thought leadership. What happens? You walk in with thought leadership on a premise solution. The guy says, that's great, Ron. You know, a friend of mine, nothing good starts with a friend of mine, by the way. In life, with your wife, nothing good starts with a friend of mine. So, a friend of mine sent me a link to a Dell server he found that's $1,500 with the server operating system and the client licenses. So, say it. Have you been there? How did I get from a $10,000 server to a $1,500 single drive Dell? It's basically a workstation with a server operating system, and all they're really paying for is the OS at that point. The hardware was an old workstation, right? You've seen it. Can you do something other than, so what do? Ron goes back. And he goes, well, I really want business. I'm already invested so many hours. So what I'll do is, we'll cut out one of the NICs, we'll cut out one of the power supplies, we'll cut out one of the fans, we'll drop it back to like 8 gig, until you run out of processing space and you slow down. And I tell you what, we'll put everything on a 4-drive RAID 5, get rid of the RAID 1, we'll have 1 hot spare. You can do that, right? Now you're at $5,000. What do they see?
Number.
Dell server, that's $1,500. Can't get past it. No matter what you do, you can't turn a DL380, an HP DL380 into a $1,500 workstation with a server OS. They can't tell the difference. They'll tell you they can't tell the difference. So what happens? You've now become a commodity, and once you said it's a commodity, you're selling on price, but your price isn't the lowest. Did you close? Ron, I think I'll buy the server over here from Dell. Would you maintain it for me? You want to put it on your plan? 2 words.
No.
Hell? Nope. Because if I don't have the sale, I don't have the configuration, I'll buy it up, I won't take ownership of it. It's called principles. Leadership. Walk away. That's what feet are for. Salesmen have feet for a reason. Walk away. All right? So, if we sell on price, it's a commodity, and we're always going to lose on price. But when we have cloud, combined with great managed services, we're selling something totally different, right? We're selling a vision. We're selling a different way of working. We're selling leadership and big ideas and a new thinking. Who can compare that today? If I walk in with that and there's 3 other guys with $1,500 or $10,000 servers, how many guys are in the room with cloud solution? 1. Right? So, what's missing in a TCO ROI statement? the number one thing that's missing in that spreadsheet?
Right up there at the
Spoiler alert, it's on the board.
business needs and
The customer. When these guys are doing ROI statements, did they ever put in the customer? Is there a field for customer? It's not, right? It's supply license, isn't it? Does the TCO ROI statement look at their business needs and value? Does it understand how the workplace is changing? Does it? No. In today's workforce, mobility is huge. Mobility adds upwards of 33% productivity boost and output. True story. 33% boost. If I talk to a CFO, do I want to talk about ROI, total cost of ownership of something I'm not asking you to own at all because it's my cloud? But if I talk to them about mobility and a 33% boost in productivity, is that interesting? Satellite workers and remote offices, and I'll tell you what satellite workers is in a second. Business continuity. Business continuity isn't just a necessity. I mean, look at Superstorm Sandy last year. $20 billion in physical damage, right? $20 billion of stuff broken up, busted up, and underwater. $50 billion in business loss. 2.5 times the physical damage loss in lost business. Tell that to your prospect that you understand and know this. Be a thought leader. Say these numbers. Ask them what downtime costs. If they don't know, calculate it for them. Take their gross revenue divided by 2,000. That's what downtime costs them per hour. Multiply it 8 times 8, that's a day. Divide that first number by the number of employees, that's downtime per employee. It's not rocket science. You follow me? Because they'll get more excited about that than some BS worksheet that you made up. But why do you ask the salesperson to justify your purchase? It makes no sense. Legal compliance. Go find out what their legal compliance needs and find out what a violation costs them. HIPAA violation. Anyone know what a HIPAA violation costs?
$540,000.
$5,000 per what? Incident is measured by every single record that doesn't meet it. The guy's got 1,000 records. It's 1,000 times 5,000, right? So what do? They're gonna fold it, declare bankruptcy, and open up under a new name. But that's the stakes. Space. I asked a guy last year from Chicago. It wasn't you, it was Daniel, but Chicago. I said, "What's downtown real estate cost?" He says $25 to $35 a square foot in a recession. So if I want to carve out a new server room, or I can take that 8 foot by 5 foot or 8 foot by 8 foot square and put some accounts receivable and some salespeople there, which one makes more money? What if they want to downsize that real estate? Predictability and budgeting. Don't ever underestimate that. You know what's fun about predictability and budgeting? The flip side of predictability and budgeting. What do you think the flip side of predictability and budgeting is?
No predictability.
Income. If you, my client, and you have predictable budgeting of how much you pay me every month, the flip side is, I know how much I'm getting every month, the first of the month. It's sweet. Lifestyle. Guys, this is what it's all about. Lifestyle. I talk about the prospect's lifestyle. Because when we find out that they're spending 10 to 15 hours a week chasing IT problems, and they're a C-level executive, they're a litigating lawyer that bills $300 an hour and he's crawling under desk, screwing around with wires on a computer. There's my ROI. You tell me. Why do I have to calculate it? You just told me that you crawl under the desk for 10 hours a week. You are either stealing 15 hours of billable time a week from the law firm, or stealing it from your wife and kids. Which is it? Because there's no free time. I can't make a 28-hour day. Am I right? Does that make sense? Here's what we need: 3 things. Hit me. Leadership, strategic vision, and big thinking, guys. Really big thinking. Change is great. You go first. Huh? You got to ask yourself, is this prospect going somewhere or nowhere? And here's what I mean. All right? A typical prospect I walk into has 7-year-old server equipment plus workstations running XP. How old is that now? I don't know, 5, 6 years? I don't know. It's sunset. 7-year-old server, some weak-ass backup like a hard drive or Mosey hanging off the back. Okay? Let me tell you something. I'm there for a reason. And I'm a busy person. I respect your time, but guess what? I also respect mine. Don't jerk me around. Why am I here? Because I can't fix this. I can't make a bad idea good. I can make a good idea better. Remediating this environment is step number one. Right? I got to tell you something. If somebody is sitting on that kind of equipment and says, well, John, what's my return on your idea? What do you think my first answer is?
I don't know.
You got it, Jeff. Well, Lauren, based on everything we just discussed about cloud for the past hour and what it would do for your business, what do you think the return would be? Is that a fair question for me to ask? You got it. After everything I just told you about mobility, productivity, business continuity, legal compliance, budget predictability, freeing up space in your office, and what it would mean to your lifestyle, holy cow, you tell me what the return for you is. The return for me is, $48.55 a month. It's whatever it is on the paper. I got that. How do you ask the salesperson? That's ridiculous. I flip it right around. Everything we talked about, all this value, all these pains that we solve, what's it worth? What's it mean? What's the return to you? You figure it out. You can write it on a Post-it note and stick it on my forehead and then look at it all day. I don't care. That's the way it should be, right? Does that make sense, Alex? Yeah? So look. Okay. That was premature slidulation. Understand this. That guy I told you about sitting on 7-year-old equipment and mosey and said that's my backup. And he's sitting on all this stuff. If I'm working with him or anyone else's, change is going to happen. Right now, for the past 7 years, how much has he spent? Zero. Zero. Nada. Ephes. Nothing. 7 years, the guy just sitting on this thing. Oh, every now and then he changes the hard drive, tries to add more RAM to this thing. If you can still buy that configuration, a Dimmy, Simi, whatever from 7 years ago, whatever it is, get it on eBay. The Smithsonian, whatever. So change must occur, okay? If change occurs, an investment must take place. And I guarantee you this, write it down, John Garber guarantees you. Anything he spends with you to remediate this environment is much more than he spent right now. Much more than he spent in the past 7 years, I guarantee you. Do you believe that? Well, guys, here's the question. Are you going to spend that money strategically? Or are we going to try the same thing over and over again? Because I won't sign on to it. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want my name in the marketplace on that. There are 3 possible buying cycles that I see. They buy, obsolete, buy again. Now, is that fun for you? I got a great month. I hope. What's the lifespan of a server? What do you think the lifespan of a server is?
3 to 5.
3 years. In our business, 3 years. We say the warranty is good for 3 years. New operating system about every 2 years. If you want to upgrade your line of business software, we have to upgrade the OS to match it. You hopefully grew, or you're probably not one of my clients. So we're saying about 3 years. After that, you have to start dumping money into it, and you're not flying with the warranty anymore. So 3 years. Buy, obsolete, buy. In between those 2 years, he had to maybe buy some more Microsoft licensing, possibly a new product, upgrade his line of business, buy some VMware renewals or Citrix renewals or whatever. Buy, obsolete, buy. Or, more likely than that, I see buy, obsolete, slow death. That's the worst time to deal with a prospect because it's dead. Now it's a panic buy. The first cheapest piece of crap they could buy to solve that pain and put out that fire, they'll buy. Never want to deal with a desperate client because we're not thinking strategically. They're only thinking tactically. But then I got this. I got cloud. Budget predictability, flat, no spikes. The hardware and the software are always current, matching everybody, no conversion, state of the art. So Mr. Prospect, you thought you were going to do it the first cycle. You ended up, as we expected, doing the second one. Are you ready to do something different? That's how you position cloud. I'll tell you a quick true story. I met with a guy, has a substantial business down the road from us. He had servers, some were 7 to 10 years old. We went through a conversation. Obviously, I could tell his buying cycle. It's clear, right? 7 to 10-year-old stuff, absolutely retarding the growth of his business. It was holding him back. I could see it, he could see it, but he couldn't let go. And I said, you know, I could do something premise, but what makes sense for you is a hybrid in the cloud. We leave the CAD cam on site, all the back office move up into the cloud. He said, yeah, well. I'll tell you what, John, he actually said this. I'll do it where, I understand you're saying 3 years, I'll buy new premise equipment with you, which I didn't quote him. He just assumed I would sell it. And in 3 years, I'll replace it. Now look at his track record. History is a pretty good predictor of what? Tomorrow. I said, I tell you what, I'll do it if you write me 2 checks. 1 check today for what I think this will be about $20,000 with labor and licensing and everything. You write me a check today for about $20,000 for a customer premise solution. We'll back it up off-site. We'll do a BDR. That's monthly. Forget about that. Write me a check for $20,000. Write me another check for $20,000 post-dated 37 months from now. And if you do that, I'll work with you on that. What do you think he said? No! True story, guys. We had to face it. Let's go real. Is this going anywhere or nowhere? If it's not going nowhere, cloud didn't fail. The prospect isn't ready to move. Bye-bye. So what I told you before, it's time to think big. I want you to change the conversation. If you're replacing premise equipment with more premise equipment, with all due respect, that is a very small conversation. That is small. And it's a commodity conversation. Do you understand that? Does everybody agree with that or not? You can? What?
I don't understand.
You don't understand? If I want to talk to a client, I'm going to take Ron, and Ron has some end-of-life premise equipment. And I say, Ron, I guess it's time to replace the tires. It's time to replace your server. It's time for a checkup. It's time for a fill-in. What's the difference? Put anything in there. It doesn't matter. It's time for your prostate exam. It doesn't matter. It's a small conversation. Because I'm not introducing any new ideas. Are you telling me in the intervening 7 or 5 years since I bought the last one, technology is the same? It's gotten a little smaller. It's gotten more expensive, less expensive. It's just about the same price. It's just the specs change, right? Are you telling the client that in the intervening 7 years, not much has changed? Wow, that's a small conversation. That's what I mean. But cloud is a vision-driven conversation. I want you to think big. I want you to connect them to all of these main game changers. Mobility, satellite workers, continuity, compliance, all the things I really can't do effectively with a premise solution. Remember I told you what I meant by satellite worker? I was going to tell you that? You didn't remind me. That's Alex's fault. He was supposed to. A satellite worker is different than a remote office. Satellite workers is a huge growing segment. So I hear this all the time. Maria keeps our books. She's worked here for 7 years. She's the only one who knows the system. Bam, she's out on maternity leave. And after about 6 weeks, you are desperate for her to be working for you, and she needs the money. So some people say, oh, I'll get another PC. We'll log me in and go to my PC and chunk. Right? I go from here to Santa Barbara to back to down here and then back, you know. Performance stinks, securities where I'll let her RDP straight to the server. Well, not on my watch. That's not best practices. On my competitors, they'll do that. Satellite worker. What's a satellite worker? Lifestyle. Remember I said lifestyle satellite worker? Baby boomers are aging. I see this all the time. Hey, John, one of the partners in the firm, he has to go out to California and be with his father who's going through chemo for 6 weeks. I hear that all the time. As the baby boomers get older and older, their kids step up and have to be caregivers now. It's true. Do you see it? So a partner has to go out to California for 6 weeks, but he's our litigator. He writes all the appeals. Satellite work. Do you think that's a problem in the cloud? It's like that all the time. By the way, you know how quick that 6 weeks turns into 6 months? We had a client. He was adopting Russian children. He adopted a number of children from Russia. Every time he did, he had to go be in Russia for 6 weeks. One of his associates in the law firm, father fell ill, had to live in Scotland for 2 years. Now here's the deal with that. You say, so what? Replace it. Really? Here's the truth. Remember this. If you remember anything that I tell you, technology is cheap. Employees and their knowledge is expensive. Ask a business owner, what would you rather do? Go through a job search for a long-term employee and replace and train them, or buy a new computer? Invest in technology. How fast can you buy new technology so I don't have to lose that person? And in today's lean workforce with the recession, the employers want every drop of productivity that you can get out of a smaller workforce, right? Cloud gives them all of that. So, remember, if you talk cloud, think big, you're immediately unique. The sale I told you about I closed this year, I was the only guy talking about it. It's a competitive situation. I was the third VAR in. Both other people were suggesting replacement premise solutions at ludicrous prices. One premise solution was $100,000 for a 35-person shop with no remote users. I'm a straight shooter. You can probably tell them right now. I said, guys, I'm not sure how I cram $100,000 of equipment in here for 35 people. I don't know how to do it. Right? But we said, I don't understand why you're putting servers in here. We would look at this in your system and say, it works well in the cloud, and then we could just free the whole thing up. And they said, yes, that's what we want. You're the only people that came in and questioned it. Only people who came in and elevated the conversation with vision. Then we started talking about what it would mean to the business. We were done. That first prospect meeting, everything else was commentary. All the meetings afterwards, really, were commentary and selling the owners. It was done. So, you have to ask yourself, am I going to be a salesman in a VAR? I'm going to be a strategic partner. Strategic partners elevate the conversation, introduce new ideas. So what questions will I ask to look like a strategic partner and not a commodity salesperson? Basics of sales, Sandler 101. Listen, don't talk. Ask, don't tell. If I walk in with proposals and an ROI statement, that's show up and throw up, right? I'm not going to do it. You got to be a pain doctor. Tell me where it hurts, man. You got to dig, dig, dig. Let me ask you something. You start digging for pain and asking them what's going on in their business, and they tell you something. Is that the real pain?
Probably not.
Probably not. So I dig a little bit more, and they go, well, I think Lauren's stealing from the company. Whatever. He gets all the good-looking girls. Is that the real pain? I get 3 layers deep. You think I'm hitting pain? The card is 3 cards deep. But here's the deal. So what? So what? We had 4 days of downtime last year on our server systems, including our mail. So what? Not enough. What did it mean to your company? We must know what it meant in dollars, lost opportunity, lost productivity, client confidence, vendor confidence. Everybody plays a role. Don't just take the pain and write it down. That's amateurish. I got it. If the pain is a knife, honestly, I now have to twist the knife. I'm sorry to put it in those terms, but that's the truth. Do you believe me? The pain is just the indicator. I've got it twisted until I find out what does it mean to your operation. Not just what it cost you. What did it mean? You shipped an order a week late. What did it mean? You couldn't post payroll for 2 weeks. What did it mean to your employees? How did they feel about it? Did any of them leave? You know, AR. If you miss a day in mailing AR, if you're mailing it, that's like losing a week with the post service today, right? You lose a day, it's about a week. You got clients on 60 days. If I lost a week, I've almost lost a month because they're never going to pay it when they get it. They're going to sit on it till the end, right? So I lose a day, I lose a week. If I've lost a whole week, I might have lost a month. That can kill a business. Make sure they understand it can kill their business. Not enough that they say, well, the AR was down for it. What does it mean? Could have killed your business. Now we want to take each one of these pains and connect them with the cloud solution, how it would have mitigated it. You see how we draw the thread, the tapestry? We weave it from the pain, what it meant, to how the cloud would have fully mitigated it. Now they make the connection that you have something unique that they haven't had with a premise solution, meaning another premise solution, however fancy, didn't mitigate those risks, right? Did everybody follow me on that? Let's get into it. There is another way. I told you I would share with you a completely different way of positioning it. TTO, it's something that we call TMO. And I sell on this, folks, total meaning of ownership. Even though they still don't own it, right? It's cloud. You just rent it, which is sweet. Total meaning of ownership. Here's my steps. I got a first meeting. I want to understand some of the pains and some of the meaning, right? I want to know what some of the challenges are. I want to get a sense, just a broad sense of what the current infrastructure is. I don't care that much about the current infrastructure because when I'm done, it's going to be gone. One way or the other, it's going to be gone. It's either going cloud or I'm greenfielding the whole environment. And then I want to sell an audit. I happen to do a paid assessment or audit. If you give it away and have some other model, that's okay. Second meeting, we're actually rolling out the audit on site. We're rolling out Kaseya agents, but more importantly, we're talking to the key players. Owner, operations manager, office manager, and the frontline employees. Guys, the real story in any company is found where?
Frontline employees.
Up by the receptionist desk. The closer you get to the receptionist desk, the more dirt you'll find. Because those are the folks, particularly in law firms, which we do well with, that insulate the upper management from all of these day-to-day problems because they don't care. It's not that they're nice people, but they don't care that Susie up at the front has to do a hard reboot 4 times a day. A hard reboot in my business is 20 minutes of lost time because they'll start it and walk away. 5 minutes to reboot, 15 more minutes of smoking a cigarette at the water cooler, and then getting the coffee and come back. If they're doing it 3 times a day, that's an hour a day. Wow. But I find that out at the front line, not in the back office, not at the top. So we talk to all these people, we find more pain. We get some vision going. You see what I mean? Guys, what would it mean if we did something different? How would it mean? What's your lifestyle impact? The second meeting is where we dig deep into the lifestyle impact. Third meeting is always at our office. That's where we do the assessment review. Now, we only discuss numbers, proposals, and assessment pain at our office. You must come to our office, which we've nicknamed the theater. I'm just sharing with you how we do it. It's set up like a theater, okay? We go over the whole service overview of how they will get service. We show how we do the real-time metrics through the tool we created, Connect Smart, the business intelligence dashboard, right? They go around and they meet the whole team, including the service team and every other team we have. They meet the engineers. They can see them. They can see a room full of them. We sit down and we go over the risk assessment. Now, the risk assessment part of this is where we show them all the technical kind of pain that we found that they didn't even know about, right? Those are the ghosts in the machine, the rats in the belfry, whatever it is. The bits and bytes that are putting in a risk they didn't know about. Our language is extremely specific and very important. Always. This is how you are going to get support from us. When you are part of the Connect Care family, this is how you enter a ticket. It's the future positive into the now. When they go to meet our engineers, this is very hard to do. But I've got most of our engineers will get up, shake their hand and say, "Hi, I'm Mike. I will be taking care of you." Can you imagine I get engineers to do that? No joke. Do you know how powerful that is? When a help desk says, "Ron, hi, I'm Mike. I will be taking care of you." Future positive in the present. That's why we call it a theater. It's very specific. Now we get to the TMO. What did it stand for again? Thank you. I just want to see if you're paying attention. We want to go back and review those big pains, not the technical stuff about backups and bits and bytes and hackers. The big pains, all of them, we want to reconnect them to the impact, whether it's tangible and measurable or intangible, personal, right? What's it mean to their business? What's the impact on their personal lives? And I dwell in this pain, and I dig this pain back, and I lay it on the table. And I ask something very important. Guys, what would happen if we didn't do anything about this for another year? Because they've been living with it for too long. Well, what would happen now that I've put all this pain on the table if we didn't do anything about it for another year? Third rule of sales. When you ask a question,
wait for an
shut up. I will stare there in an awkward silence for as long as it takes, but I will not rescue them. And I will not give multiple choice answers. That's a cop-out. Let them answer it. Remember, I told you, if you ask me what the ROI is, I say, "I don't know, what do you think the return is?" I just saved your Same thing here. I just told you what the pain is. Am I right or am I wrong? I'm right. So if we do nothing for another year, what's the result of that? Aha. Now they'll tell me that and they'll say, well, let's talk about when we do implement the cloud for you. Future positive now. When we put you on the cloud, this pain is going to go away. It's going to be mitigated. This pain is going to go here. This is going to go away. We're going to solve this. We get the mobility. Susie can do your accounting books. She had to move with her husband who was looking for a job. She had to move to Duluth, Minnesota, but she can still work for you. We see that all the time too. One spouse has to move to find work. The other spouse has to go with them. She can still work for you. He can still work for you. That's powerful. Because it costs 5 times as much to train and acquire new employees to keep the one you have. And technology, by comparison, is cheap. You see what I mean? We want to paint this vision and mitigate each one of the pains. Remember, I'm very personal about this. Here are the 3 questions. We close it. Question number 1. Can I use your name, Ron, just as an architect? Ron, you know what? When we get you fully transitioned to the cloud, it could take 60 to 90 days. We do our pre-production, then we roll out. What will that mean to your business? And again, when I ask a question, I will not rescue you. What will it mean to your business? Now, he'll answer, she'll answer. And I ask if there's if there's multiple people in the room, I want an answer from all of them. The second question gets right to the core of it. You know, when we do this, we talked about what the cloud would do for you. Ron, what would it mean to you personally? Now, I have to draw this out sometimes. I have to reconnect it with the vision all the way from the first meeting. 10 hours a week. If I got you 10 hours a week back, 4 weeks in a month, that's a man week a month. What would you do with that time? Would you spend more time with your family? Would you take that vacation you've wanted, you've put off? Would you spend more time on a golf course where you might meet your next client, or you might have the next business breakthrough? I give those seeds, but they're not multiple choice questions. You have to dig into it. A lot of times, guys, watch out. They'll start with a money answer. Well, it would mean to the bottom line, and David will tell you, I practically leapt across the table and said, no, no, no. No, no, Ron. I'm sorry, with all due respect. I didn't ask what's it worth. I said, what does it mean? Because I'm so past talking about money. I'm in vision. Do you understand the difference between money and vision and personal meaning to the decision maker? Do you understand that? You're following me? It's a totally different big thinking conversation. I go, no, not worth, Ron. Meaning, tell me what it means to your life. Remember, I told you that lawyer, he's either stealing time from the firm or stealing it from Mr. and Mrs. from Brody and the kids, right? No free time. Then I asked one last question. One question. So, what would you like to do? That's also an open-ended question. It's not multiple choice. I just asked, what would you like to do? Now, my friends, would you believe that my typical #1 answer is not, so what's it cost? Because we're past that. I think ballpark, we know what we're talking about. Would you believe the typical answer is, so what's it cost? Would you believe me when I walk them through this connecting meaning and personality, big thinking? My typical response is, when do we start? When do we start? That's my typical response. How would you like to get that response when you offer cloud? Is that interesting? If you want the slide deck, guys, I'll send you a PDF or something. I see some pictures being taken, which is fine. But can we make that available on the portal? Yeah, we'll post it as a PDF or whatever. So, that being said, I'd like to leave you with some final thoughts. First, I'm going to ask something of you. If something that I said today during this session has resonated with you, if it has made an impact, if you had an aha moment, would you consider coming up to me at one of the breaks, and then I'm here through Saturday morning, a reception or lunch or whatever, a toggle booth? Would you come up to me and just share with me what that is? Would you let me know that I made a little bit of an impact? And if a couple months from now you've closed a cloud deal, or at least you've had some of these conversations, and it made a difference, would you just kind of reach out to me and let me know? Would that be okay to ask? Because I would really appreciate it. The second thought I want to leave you with is that cloud is just a tool in my toolbox. It's a very powerful, it's the most powerful tool I have, but it's just a tool in my toolbox. But I can know and I can communicate this. When I walk up to a client and I offer cloud as the lead solution, without a doubt in my mind, it is the highest value, most cost-effective solution for them in the marketplace. I know it and can communicate it. Highest value, most cost-effective solution in the marketplace for them. I never said the cheapest, because I'm not interested in cheap. I tell people at the first meeting, I'm typically the most expensive player in the market. Don't you wonder why? Why do you think Ron would pay that or Alex would pay that? Highest value, most cost-effective solution, I know it and can communicate it. And they can see it, because that's my passion. Do you feel that? There's one, there's a great quote. It says, the thrill of a cheap price is quickly forgotten, but the bitterness of poor quality is long remembered. Can you dig that? And I'll tell you one last thought. I believe, and when I believe I'm passionate, I believe that any business owner sitting on a legacy environment who has the nerve to ask me for an ROI statement to bring it up to the 21st century, let alone 2013, ask me for the return on it, is the same as a guy sitting in the dark and asking me for the ROI on switching on the light. It's that simple for me. And I hope that you will internalize that. You've chosen to spend and invest this time with me and share your time with me, and I want you to know I very much appreciate that. I am honored and really touched that you chose to spend this time with me. I hope it has been valuable for you, and I'm honored that you've done that. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. We are going to, Randy's got a couple things. We'll go to Q&A and a panel. Yes, you can introduce that. Again, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. I think you can agree that Jonathan is indeed very passionate. And this is an example of the kind of thing that we bring to the table with Toggle. So you might say, do these Toggle guys really know what they're talking about? Yeah, it works for Jonathan. I mean, he's an amazing guy, right? But does it really work elsewhere? So just wanted to bring it up. So Scott Beckhold, in December, sold $300,000 of cloud sales. He's a 3-man organization.
Oh!
And so he says, with the advice and training provided by Toggle, I was able to close $300,000 in cloud seats in December alone. Look to hit that number in January again. By going through Toggle's training and with their advice, I've completely changed the way I qualify, present, sell, and deliver full cloud to my clients using Toggle Cloud. That's an example of what we see and the kinds of things that we bring to the table with the sales coaching, our materials, our mentoring, our training, the interaction that we have in helping you strategize and the dialogue with your prospects, where we can help you and your sales team up your game with the result that you sell more, you sell faster, you sell for higher dollars. Because I truly believe that any business that's selling to small business can easily sell $1 million of cloud and make this a substantial part of your business. And we'll teach you how to go ahead and do that. So what's next? Well, if you would like, talk to us. Got a team here, we're here. You can become an affiliate with us for $249 and have access to all our material in our time. And frankly, we lose money with you being an affiliate. But the strategy is that we are dedicated to your success, and when we help you succeed, that's what drives our business forward. It's the Dale Carnegie model. Now, I want to bring up one other thing before we turn on to the panelists and give you a chance to meet with some of our affiliates and ask questions and have a Wild Wild West type of thing up here. And that is that for about 4 months here, I put together a program which to me represents the most exciting way that I've ever seen to bring prospects in your door. Is anybody here thrilled with cold calling? You know, I don't see a single hand raised, okay? Is everybody I know, you're all getting as many qualified leads as you want, right? Good for you. Lauren, he's going to come up and tell us about it. So, this is a challenge that I certainly saw in my MSP. So what we've done is put together a program for a fully automated prospecting system that will drive leads who are qualified and interested in talking to you to your door. It runs 24 hours a day, unattended. It's going to provide the reporting to you, provide the whole system, and it's based around some, guys, if you guys can come up and hand out the sheets, we've got some sheets on you for this. It's based around a principle of done-for-you webinars. You know, we all know that aspect of engaging in conversations with people, particularly about the cloud or anything that you have that's going to benefit them and make a difference in their business operations, is all based upon talking to them. They don't know what they don't know until you tell them, right? And we can do that from seminars, and we do that from speaking engagements, we can do it in webinars and stuff. The problem is that we don't tend to get around to it. We don't script those things, you know, we don't feel very good about it, we don't have the professional presentations. How do we put it all together? How do we make it happen? It's a huge amount of work, right, Jonathan?
How many of you really love public speaking?
That's great. Good.
We're going to form a support group.
So what we've done is we've partnered with Garber, who's one of the top sales coaches in the world, and we put together a program of scripting webinars on topics that typically you as an MSP want to go ahead and promote. Whether that's cloud, managed services, managed security, business continuity, disaster recovery, you know, pretty much any topic you want to come up with. We've written all those scripts. We professionally record them for you with your name, your town, your business practice, your branding, all the way throughout.
Your logos in the slide deck, it's all coming from you.
That's right. It's all specifically you. You own the webinar, and we drape it around this entire system. If you want to use our system, it's at no cost to you. To host that and deliver it, register, report back to you, and you get the whole thing. So one of those, for instance, is on the cloud, and as an affiliate, we provide a significant incentive. There's a discounted price for this, for you, for the entire program, but it's also available for people who aren't affiliates. I mean, our DNA is investing and giving back to the community, and this is the single best way that I've seen to improve your revenue and your bottom line. So the cloud webinar is $1,497. We arranged time payment on this whole thing. We've even arranged with one of the foremost list brokers for you to be able to sort on the criteria that's important for you, like within 5 miles, businesses between 10 and 50 seats, get C-level contacts with their complete information, including email addresses and phone numbers, for 6 cents a name. Any quantity you want.
That's awesome.
And we then back this with a geographic exclusive, so you don't have to worry about somebody else who's next door to you who's doing the same thing. And we roll this out, and we then give you a training program around it on how to go ahead and use this, including emails to drive traffic and everything else to make this happen. So it's really a turnkey kind of thing. So if that's interesting to you, I would suggest that you talk to us soon, because with the geographic limitation, you know, some of these, you don't want your next competitor to have it. So if you want it, that's fine. If not, it's okay. But we're seeing a great deal of success with people doing this already, where we piloted this. Randy Hall is one of those who's done that, so you can certainly talk to him about it. The flyer we sent out talks more about it. If you use the QR code to go to a website that explains more, and there's a webinar, imagine that, that actually talks further about it. If it's for you, that's great. If not, that's okay. But part of our give back to the community. And now, I would like to bring up Lauren and Bob, Mitchie, if you guys would come on up. And what we thought we'd do in the remaining time that we've got before our wonderful volunteer gives us the signal and says we're out of time, is allow you to have freewheeling questions and ask about what their experience is you know, why their clients have decided to go up in the full cloud. How it's like working with us, whatever you guys want. And if we don't know the answers, we got a team of other smart people here who will be happy to fill you in.
Yeah, normally, you know, red shirts on Star Trek, bad. Red shirts on Toggle, good. Okay.
Starts to make us wonder, are we all going to die today?
So Bob, I know you've worked extensively with a company that's subject to some compliance issues. That's a challenge for many of us, and we're going to see a whole lot more of that. And they're a pretty significant size organization. I mean, not a ton of users, but what, 65 or something like that? Okay. And they're transitioning to the cloud. And what did you see that, or what did they see, because that's really more important, as the reasons for them to want to go ahead and do that?
Basically, I've been working with this clinical research company for 6 years. I put the initial servers in that they had there, and came down to it was time to replace all this stuff, and I was like, you know, I'm not going to let you buy another server. So I talked to Randy and David, and we came up with a solution for them to host their clinical application in the Toggle Cloud. It's just running, and we've got 10 user pilot in-house now. It's ready to kick over to the 65 seats, and
they're pretty excited about the scalability.
Yeah, they're scaling. The thing is, this was one application. This client, they only have 65 seats. They have 43 servers in their environment because of their compliance issues or SOPs say we build a test, development, and a training system. Test, training, and production system. So anything we do rolls out by a factor of 3. And some of these 2-tier applications, we're now looking at 6 servers for one application. So that's a big benefit.
So are they liking what they're doing?
They're liking what they're doing. People are working anywhere. This is, like I said, with the 65 seats, it's a regional base because they have to go to clinics. So we've got people spread out all over. Remote users so far have been really good, and like this is great. It's better than my old XP laptop that I've been working with. So yeah, no, we're in good shape.
Are they seeing any difference in the productivity or other demonstrated business benefits?
Too early to tell for them. They're not really seeing that yet. What's happening is, like I said, they just got the validation suite done. We have a stack of binders. It's got to be this big for all the screenshots and crap that they had to do just to present to the auditors when they come in because it's got patient data.
Yeah, it's a very methodical process. This is not typical. But I just wanted to bring up to you how you can take clients that you think would be a very difficult mode to transition and do that effectively, and with our process and Bob's process, take them methodically through everything so they got all green lights, they're all happy, and then they keep growing it. And this organization fully intends to be substantially larger than they are today. And we've seen that. You know, where you take a client that may be 10 users or less. We've had clients who are now over 150 users in the cloud.
Two-phase question. First is, with this transition, I imagine they're coming from a domain. What type of stumbling blocks did you have bringing them over from the domain to the cloud? And the second half is, in terms of performance and responsiveness, how do you see the difference from the local versus Toggle?
Yeah, let me just reiterate that since we're recording this so that you all have access to it. So Fred had asked, you know, about performance, what are we seeing there? And also, you know, how did they handle the difference in the domain, right?
On the domain side, the Toggle environment is totally separate. So I've got new user accounts sitting up there. Users really aren't having a big issue with that. We do have Toggle VPN set up back into the site, and right on the desk on the portal account, there's a little icon to map into the legacy data. But as far as performance, it's pretty much as good as they had before. And I went from a Citrix environment for this application because in the clinical application, there is no such thing as single sign-on. The SOPs say we can't have it. So domain really didn't matter. And we went from an older Citrix server into the new Citrix server. And my biggest issue right now is getting rid of the old Citrix agents because they just don't work too well with the new Toggle environment.
on the other hand, Lauren, you've been incredibly successful. Lauren's one of the better, your best candidates today. Guys, let's go all give her others as well, including Jay and stuff, and just, it's a great credit to the organization themselves. But oftentimes your clients are on the smaller side of things. You've transitioned some smaller clients to the cloud. You know, what kind of experience have they realized? You know, what were some of the drivers for them?
Well, it was very interesting. I mean, we're slow learners. I learned a lot today, thank you, John. And we want to implement a lot more of that thinking in the sales process, especially for cloud. Our beta client onto this was 4 users, but they're at $225 all the seat price, including the managed services on site. You know, going through that conversation, they saw the value in it, even though I sucked at the sales process on that. They saw the value in it and they said, yeah, let's do this. It took us way too long and we cut our teeth on it. But we're now ready, in position, we understand it a lot more, and we're ready to do some more.
Great.
So we talked for a lot of things, but any specific questions you guys would like to know more about?
My question is, with the pipeline coming out of the clients, everything is so dependent on that ISP. And even if you have a backup ISP, you still have that pipeline that you have no control over, where at least if it's in-house, I do have control over, getting them a new drive, getting them. So how do you...
Great question.
Where do you go from there?
Every cloud prospect will ask 3 things. I usually preempt them, whether it's in a workshop or in a meeting. I'll even play Carnac and go, let me guess, and I'll put it in there. You go. 3 things. They're always going to ask about security. They're always going to ask what happens if my internet goes down, and they're always going to ask what happens if I want to leave you. You go out of business, whatever. Because Connection's been in business 36 years, so chances are we outlived them. But they'll always ask security, bandwidth, and if I don't want you anymore, whatever it is, we need to separate. Now, all of our clients that are on the cloud have 2 divergent last mile pipelines to the internet. Period. We can pick up Comcast in our area, 9 meg for $60 or something. It's great. We only need about 60K a user for the Toggle Cloud. Not a problem. The beautiful part is, if both of those internet pipelines went down to that client, what are the odds are they still have power and phone and everything else? Pretty small. So if it's all customer premise, they are in what we call an SOL situation, right?
That's another technical term.
From where? Anywhere. Go pick up and go to the owner's house. Now we're in Hurricane Alley. We're in Hurricane Alley. So we can say, look, we can set up a work area in the owner's kitchen table, a dining room table. That's 8 people. Let's stick a generator. That's no problem. Can't do it in the rented office building. So we have universal access from anywhere. If my systems are premise and my exchange server is premise and I lost my internet, how much communication am I doing with my clients now? 0. Great question. Dan?
I'm curious how you would sell this solution to a doctor's office who can't just go anywhere and deliver their services. On that point, where is the value point for them?
So Dan was just asking where you've got a client who needs to be premise-based, like a manufacturer, or a physician who needs access to his premises in order to conduct his business. How does that go ahead and impact the dialogue, and where's the value there?
Well, one of the immediate things is if I have stuff like imaging, large medical imaging, that's best suited on-premise. Cloud is a tool in my toolbox. What about insurance processing and AR? Do I need that there? If their office is unavailable and inaccessible, would they still like to be processing claims and getting paid? Probably. Is it necessarily being done in their office? No. So there are parts of the business that must continue even if the point of care is unavailable. On the other hand, there are a good candidate for a hybrid where we want to have some things premise, back office cloud, and everything replicated to cloud for continuity, which is what you saw with John Matazzi and Joplin. He had premise because he had to, but had it all backed up and was able to restore them in alternative locations. Great question.
Real quick, if I could, there's two pieces that are tied in here together on both your question and yours. And I would tell you, doctor offices more often than not will go to the cloud, just like that.
They're oftentimes highly mobile. Most doctors have multiple practices, and it makes it far more effective for them to be able to worry about when Randy Ware comes into Office A or Office B to see him, the files are already there. So for doctors, it's simple. The real kick in the butt is you're worrying about the internet pipe and whether the internet pipe is going to go down. And John already told you, we always have at least two pipes, different divergent last mile to mitigate it. Look at the alternative. What do they have now? The server.
Eggs in one basket.
One server in a closet is what they have now. When they are dealing with the compliance issues that a doctor's office is going to have, that's why I'm saying the two are tied together, it's horrid. All those medical records can be stolen just by stealing the server. Now what? These doctors are a prime candidate to rush to the cloud. I mean, I cannot tell you what, they will rush to the cloud.
Because you're asking a great value question, and what we found is, premise done right, particularly with large storage, premise done right also requires space. And doctors are very aware of space and revenue generation. And every square foot is either driving revenue or not. It's available for patient care or it's administrative. And if they can kick out all the insurance processing and AR and administrative people to work from home or somewhere else and have patient care space available for patient care, they'll always choose that because it drives revenue. So that's a flip side of the same conversation. Does that make sense? Great question.
Yeah, in my business, we have a lot of healthcare clients, and we moved a lot of them up to the cloud. And they loved the fact that they had a more quiet local environment, far fewer issues that were going on, lots less work that their staff needed to be dealing with in terms of all the issues that were going on with technology, the fact that they could scale. They could go ahead and have their office manager work remotely. The docs could connect up, so when they're handling a phone call at home, they could actually see the entire patient records. And we did that through the entire appointment scheduling, patient management, and entire electronic medical records thing. In fact, to us, that was the #1 group that leaped to the cloud. We had essentially no resistance from that kind of environment. I can get into more details.
I have another question on security, but I'm going to let him go first if he has hand up.
I have two questions. So I want to picture a scenario that I went through with a client that had several servers on site, and they wanted to move to the cloud.
Great.
I tried to contact them and finally got in contact with them, and they said, "Oh, we're using Microsoft 365." How do you compete with, and how do you?
That's a great question. What is your name? Dwayne, thank you so much. That is a great question, which is how do I compete with Microsoft 365 or Google Apps or Amazon? I don't. Because my target client is typically running something other than Microsoft apps. If you're just running Microsoft apps, Exchange, Office, SharePoint, whatever, it's hard to beat the price point on Microsoft. On the other hand, you probably won't be my client. That's okay. We're not a fit for everyone. How many of you have clients that just run Microsoft apps and they'll say, "Oh, we just run Office." You go, "Really? Ron's the accountant. He doesn't use QuickBooks?" "Oh, yeah, QuickBooks." Buy Microsoft 365. So law firm, you guys just run Office? We just run Office. What is that lawyer writes? A practice manager? Remember, Microsoft 365 is a Microsoft-only platform. It also has a giant security target on its back. Where is the Microsoft 365 platform? I have no idea. How do you get help on the Microsoft 365 platform? I have no idea. Who gives it to you? I have no idea. But I know if I were the reseller, and believe me, Microsoft 365 wants me to be their reseller because I know how to sell cloud. And they ask me all the time, and I say no, because I lose all vertical control of my client's experience. If Ron asks me for help, I have to go, hold on a second. I got to go ask something over here to somebody who's somewhere in the world. And it takes about 24 hours. He gets back to me and I go, "Ron, I think I could ask the guy over there to do something you wanted." What value am I delivering this guy? Am I accountable to him? Can he wring my neck if I don't perform? He'd wring my neck for selling him that product. But it is right for certain SOHO businesses that are just running Microsoft product. Dirt cheap, can't beat it, don't compete against it. That's my answer. Was that answer your question? What was your second one?
Last question is, you have a domain, like
I do have
before. Do you create the same domain inside the cloud? I mean, do you still connect computers like you would in a regular environment?
That's a great question. I'm going to throw that to David Bennett, who will talk to you in bits and bytes and electrons and neurons and morons and morons.
So real simple answer, there's two concepts on the domain. There's an email domain and there's the Active Directory domain. The email domain certainly picks and moves right up. Transparent. If your client has 5 different email domains, we'll pick them all right up and put them in the mail on Toggle Cloud and rock and roll. There's no problem with that. As far as the Active Directory domain goes, we leave that behind. Toggle Cloud is going to be a completely new Active Directory domain. Your servers will be integrated to that Active Directory domain. All security will be tied to that Active Directory domain. We don't care about what was left behind, and we will integrate them. Workstations that you have there can either just become work groups or leave the old domain behind, which is what I did. I go in, when we bring on a new account, I just leave the old domain behind and use that to manage the local workstations. It's convenient. But those workstations aren't integrated into the Toggle Cloud domain. They're not needed.
Here's another answer to that question, Mike. When we take on a now managed client, a legacy client, here's how much of their infrastructure and the other guy's work I want to take on. I typically rip and replace. I want to build from scratch. But yes, we have a domain in the cloud. David answered your side. Our side is I pretty much make it clear I don't take over someone else's legacy stuff if I didn't build it to our SOP and specs. We rip and replace.
You just said, he said no, but you just said yes.
No.
Oh.
He's a sales guy.
But that was a good question.
But let's try it again because obviously there was a miscommunication. So
no, we've got an LDAP. We have an Active Directory domain, and we could suck that in. But there's very little that I want from whoever was managing the network prior, in a broader sense. Does that make sense?
John, great example of the
What's up there?
I use Carbonite on back up all my photos. I just don't do it on a business. I don't run a business alone. I love Carbon. Backs up all my photos. Can I run on that if the business goes down? No, it's got on a laptop. That's cool. Yes, ma'am.
How do you answer the question that once they want to leave?
I explain how they leave me.
Ask the question.
What's
again.
that?
How do you answer the question what if they want to leave you?
If you've ever read the story Faust by Garber, so that pretty much answers the question. Never! Never! Read my contract. It's actually our contract, the connections client. This is not Toggle, but the connections client to the contract is very carefully worded where the separation is built into the front end and articulated very clearly. They give us notice. It's a project where we transition all the data. They sign and understand that any licenses that we rent them in the process of the cloud, they do not own. They have 30 days, according not to me, but to Microsoft, to license anything they continue to use, or they in violation of Microsoft standards, and there's a reason why he's a billionaire and I'm not. So, suing Microsoft's like suing Disney. You're going to win. So we make that very clear up front. It's a project, costs a couple $1,000. We transition all your data and files. We actually give you full VDKs of things back when it's a dedicated server. We'll move it. And we transition to the next person. It's okay. It's built into our contract on the front end. Is that clear? We like to put it on the front end to preempt that question, saying we understand and we're protecting. It's fair.
But how do you give VDKs back when they're in tolerance?
How do you give VDKs back?
That's a good question.
You don't.
We
give the data
back. It's a
back.
dedicated server. It's not that hard, but then you have to rip out.
We give the data back.
You get the data
Right.
back.
In the Toggle world, we give the data back. So all the data is put back onto a C drive and will be shipped back. The VDK for the server is typically where applications are stored. It's useless to you.
It's Citrix. It's
You're
just
going to
the
reset that
application.
up somewhere, whatever you need. But your email, you would migrate off using an email migration utility.
So the question was, in the Toggle world, what if there needs to be a separation? It's happened already. We've had a couple of clients who've had a couple of our Toggle affiliates have had clients who've had economic things that have whacked them, and they're withdrawing into themselves. And so they're ending a contract. The way that ends is they migrate the data off. It works the same way in reverse, right? You copy your data onto Toggle Cloud, now you copy it off. So you're going to be copying off your files. We can either do that via C drive. Usually, because our pipes are so big, you just FTP and pull it right down, suck it right down. We just moved 150 gig from one client from one data center to another. It took about a day. So if he was leaving, it would be about a day to pull that data. That's faster than FedEx. So I just do it over FTP and be done with it. Migrating emails is the same way that you migrate email in, using a tool called Migration Wiz. is what we recommend. Any of those moves all your data off. What are you left with? You're still going to be setting up Active Directory. You're still going to be doing whatever you're going to be doing for that client. In there, you get your money up front, because if they're in an economic depressed standpoint, you will get your money up front.
Guys, we have to draw to a close and let clear out the room for the next group that's presenting. We are out at the Toggle booth, which is right outside the door to the left. If you have questions for me, look for the guys in the red shirts, and we will be happy to answer questions. If you have a question for me, I'll meet you outside. We got to clear our stuff out. Again, thank you so much for spending this time with us. I think you spent it wisely, and I really appreciate it.
Couple of quick